Somebody asked a very interesting question. It's a popular question that people have asked many times. So I'm going to explain it again. Look at this. It says, good, trace human race. Good. Trace human race backwards and you will discover human race reduces until it gets to two people. So tell me, how did these two people come into existence? What he said is actually true. If you start tracing human race, it will keep reducing until you get to the two people that started the race. He said, how did these two people? Now, first of all, you need to know that many religions would tell you that some spirit or God or something came from outside space, landed and created a garden, and stuff. You need to know that that's a spiritual story. And spiritual stories, you don't take them literally, because if you take them as if they happen for real, you will make a mistake in the understanding. If you take them as, if you don't take them as something real, then it makes more sense, because now you can understand why the author, whoever wrote the story, wrote it. For instance, if I ask you to show me Garden of Eden right now, you wouldn't show me. Nobody knows where the hell it is. Do you understand? So, according to science, first off, the person that proposed the theory of evolution, he was a pastor. His name is Charles Darwin, Pastor Charles Darwin. Many people don't know he was a man of God. The guy that proposed the Big Bang theory, he was a Reverend Father, Catholic Reverend Father. Go and check it. And his own was interesting because when he proposed it, he was a mathematician, so he solved maths until he could see that the whole thing started from a Big Bang. He went and showed it the smartest scientist of the time, which was Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein was all over the place. He was the smartest, and he showed it. Albert Einstein laughed at the guy. I was like, how can you use maths to tell us how the universe works? Bro, about 9 years later, they invented a telescope, the Edwin Hubble telescope, and they looked into the skies and saw that the guy was correct, because they could see with their eyes what he solved in maths years earlier. So when it comes to theory of evolution, what it says in summary is that living things gradually turn into other living things over a long period of time. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of years, gradually turning. And the way they turn into other living things is by adaptation, adapting to their environment. How does this adaptation work? Through mutation. Every time there's cell division, every 1 billion, living cells keep dividing, right? Every 1 billionth time, on the average, there's a mutation. One of the cells is copied, but not exact copy of the one that created it. It's like a defect, a mistake in nature. So something is reproducing after like 1 billion. If you count like 1 billion, you'll see one that is defective. So if that defective one is better adapted to that environment, you will see that it will survive better. It will reproduce its kind another like 1 billion times before there's another defection. Like that. So if you take some living things like birds, okay? The most popular one that Charles Darwin saw was birds. Birds fly, all right? Nobody knows why they fly until some birds landed on an island where they did not have a natural predator. There's no other animal that feeds primarily on the birds. So the birds did not have any reason to fly. All the food they need is on the ground. The termites and stuff they need, they don't need to fly to escape danger. So over thousands of years, those birds lost their ability to fly. They became too big and their wings became too small. Talk about things like penguin. Because they started swimming for so long, they lost their ability to fly. Penguins can't fly again. It's adaptation. They started adapting to the environment over thousands of years. So if that continues for a very long time, you will see that the animal becomes a totally different animal. For instance, whales. Whales and I think sharks too. No, whales. Whales used to live on land. They used to look like dogs, but very huge dogs. Whales that you see, the biggest fish in the ocean, used to look like dogs. But they were hunting close to the ocean. Occasionally they will go to the ocean and swim and come out. Over hundreds, millions of years, they now stayed back in the ocean. So till today, if they get the bone of a whale, you will see that it has legs. Fishes are not supposed to have legs, but the legs are now inside the body. The body is now covering it because they have stayed so So what is happening? It is devolving the legs. The legs are gradually going backwards, inside, inside, inside. You know, whales till today, they can't stay underwater for so long. After some minutes, they will come up and breathe because they are not fishes. They are actually mammals. Do you understand? The way you have dogs, cats, rats, that's a whale. But the whale has adapted to water. So it can't stay underwater for so long. It will always come up and breathe and go back. Fishes don't need to breathe air. So when you talk about human beings have been evolving, like animals have been evolving, primates particularly, till they evolved one that is called Homo erectus. So, but Homo erectus lived at about 1 million years or so, you know, Homo habilis. They look like chimpanzees, but they are not chimpanzees. All right? Now, what happened was that about 300,000 years ago, there was a mutation in the gene of one of the Homo erectus. Homo erectus look like chimpanzees, but they walk upright. They don't lean like chimpanzees. We know because we can dig up their bones and see that their bones are positioned upright. But they have thick hair. They look like chimpanzees physically, but they stand upright. And they make fire, all right? So they cook their food. So that means they are way smarter than chimpanzees. So there was a mutation in the gene of one of them. A male Homo erectus had a mutation. Now, this mutation meant that this is the mutation that is the human gene, but also it's recessive. Recessive means that the chimp still looks like, the Homo erectus still looks like other Homo erectuses, but there's something already in its gene that is human. All right? So for another 50,000 years, this thing was reproducing and giving birth to more and more Homo erectus. There was evolution for another 50,000 years. So around 250,000 years ago, the first of that human mutation happened in a female. Before, you know, it started from male, and this male kept passing it to its male offspring. So if that Homo erectus that has that human gene meets a female Homo erectus, they can produce a child. If that child is female, it will not have that gene. But if it is male, it will inherit that gene like that. It went all the way until about 250,000 years ago, the first female mutated that gene. So notice that first female is called mitochondrial Eve, or genetic Eve. The first male is called genetic Adam. So now that first male has died since. It's its descendants that eventually produced an Eve. Now this Eve, remember, it will still look like Homo erectus, very much like any other Homo erectus, but it has a recessive gene inside it that made it human. So when it meets a male that had that human gene too, they will now produce a proper human being. Do you understand? That was how the first humans started being born. And actually there were 2 or 3 Eves around the time. There were 2 or 3 Eves. But many of them, their descendants died out. So the whole human race now, I think 99% of human race came from that one Eve. It was recently they found some genes that are not from that one Eve. Do you understand? So that was how human race started. And I can guarantee you, like, now that we're human, we are seeing mutations. We are seeing humans that have hairs all over their body, right? Humans that have hairs. You know, we are seeing humans that can see in the dark. There is a man that has never slept for a very long, since almost 30 years. He has never slept. He doesn't have need for sleep. If he wants to sleep, he'll just stay at night till morning. He doesn't sleep. These are mutations. You know, there are people that their lungs, not their spleen is much big, so it can process oxygen better. So these people can stay underwater longer. People that have lived close to water for thousands of years, their body has adapted to swimming because they hunt fishes underwater. Now imagine that the whole world is flooded. Everybody will die out except tribes that can survive underwater like that. That means the future tribes that will feature humanity will now have the ability to survive more underwater. That is that adaptation they are telling you. You get? So one big mistake that people make is to say that we came from chimps. No scientist has ever said that. You know, the human tree and chimp tree divided 1 million years ago. We only divided from Homo erectus about 200,000 years ago. And those Homo erectus died out. You know, there was a volcano that happened called the Toba volcano, T-O-B-A. This volcano wiped out all the human species. And all the humans are around 70,000 years ago. Only about 1,000 humans survived around Ethiopia. That's why all humans on Earth now have genes from Ethiopia. Only 1,000 people survived.